Hey guys, LoftonTCG here with another deck profile. This past weekend I traveled to Guadalajara, Mexico to play in the YCS that they had there. This is the third IRL YCS event that Konami has had back. I of course played Despia yet again, and I was not able to pull a back-to-back, which is super fine with me. But I did fall short a little bit in top 32. I actually had a really weird top 32, but I'll probably talk about that on stream or something. But let's get into the deck profile. I played 45 cards this weekend, so I only changed I changed a couple of things. There were some choices I liked, and there were some choices I just ended up didn't liking. But for the most part, the deck I was able to play it fine. So we played pure again, so we just played triple Eluber. It's non-negotiable. Double Tragedy. This is one card I wish I bumped up to 3 since I played 45. Kind of bit me once or twice, but that's okay. And then the one Dramaturge and the one Ad Libitum. I'll probably never play Comedy, and I definitely just think these are just infinitely better. This is mandatory, and I guess that people choose between Dramaturge and Comedy, but Dramaturge comes up infinitely way more times. So just a small Despia lineup. We still played the double Fallen of Albaz and the Albion the Shrouded Dragon. I don't think those are negotiable. But the last bigger change I would say is I played an Ecclesia for my light target. So you can actually search this off of Branded Lost as well. So that gave me the last minute utility for it, thinking about it. And then being able to start your turn off with just being able to special summon this and force an opponent's negate out when you special Albaz and ditch a card for cost. Or if they don't have any responses, you just make your Mirror Jade. I was actually going to play a 50 card blind going second list, so that's where this came in, because I was going to play 2 of this, but I decided to cut it down to 45, and I only played 1 of that. And then this card is actually what lost me my top 32. I opened both of these in game 1 and 2, so I just had no way to get polymerization off of the first search of Patchwork. If I played a third one, I would have been able to. So I played, last week I didn't miss it at 3, and this week I just had 1 match where I did, but it was a match that I would have preferred not to miss it at 3 of, but I don't know, this was solely the reason why I was not able to play my top 32, is that I opened both games. And then the hand traps, they changed a little bit this week. Triple Ash, Merc, I kept that the same. I almost kept this, but I think I just would have felt bad if I needed it. And I did need it a couple of times. And I actually never drew this dead this week like I did last week. And then I just did 1 Crow and 1 Bell. I played 2 Bell last week, and I went down to 1, and I moved up to 1 just for essentially a cross-out target. And Crow's just better against Branded Lost. I thought more people would be playing Branded Lost this week, and Crow can respond to Branded in red if Branded Lost is up. Bell cannot, so that's why I did that. Onto the spells. Your standard triple branded fusion non-negotiable, triple branded opening non-negotiable, and then branded in red still stayed at 2 at 45. If I played 50, I was going to play 3 of this card, but I never needed a third this weekend, so I got really lucky on that one. And then a huge change this week. Oh, sorry, hold on. And then obviously the Branded Lost. And then the huge change this week was I actually played the Theater card. This is a field spell. It acts as a polymerization, but more importantly, I didn't realize this until Saturday morning at like 1:30 a.m. was that if your opponent outs your Mirror Jade and you have an Eluber engraved, Eluber will special summon itself back, and when they kill Eluber, this will bring back Mirror Jade and essentially just give you another Mirror Jade effect. So I used this 4 times this past weekend to bring back a Mirror Jade. So my opponent just couldn't do anything. It just felt auto win when this card was up. Like I was never dying. And then onto the non-Despia and branded spells. I moved up to triple super poly. Whenever I saw this card, I won. It wasn't a debate. Like I said last week, it's a mandatory. Triple crossout still stayed in there, and I bumped up to triple talents. I still think this card's really good. And a fusion deck, you have a lot of lines of play that are based off of what your opponent has, and having 1 card that has 3 different effects, it gives you more utility on what to choose and your route of plays can be. And then the triple Patchwork, obviously, what happened this weekend made me want to just play 2 of this and 3 Edge Imp, but it's a starter card, so you still got to play 3 of it. And then double polymerization still. And then your one-ofs, Foolish Burial, and Called by the Grave. Nothing else to say about these guys. They're non-negotiables. You have to. This is a starter card, and this helps stop Ash Blossom, and we all know that Ash is not very good when it resolves against Branded Fusion. So that's 45 in the main, and on to the extra deck. I actually did decide to play Verte this weekend. I had to make it twice. I would have lost those games if I did not make this card, so this weekend it was good for me. And then the double Mirror Jade, double Libellion, and double Albion, non-negotiable. I think this card could be bumped up to 3. The deck space is super tight. I also think this card can move down to 1. I just wasn't feeling very confident with just always resolving the 1 and shuffling it back in. But I do think there is a, I do think it is more proper to just play 1 of this card if your deck is more built around making sure this card resolves. And then double Guardian Chimera. I didn't keep track of how many times I went into this weekend, but it was definitely a handful. And then double Masquerade. I will elaborate a little bit about this in one of my matches. I think it was the end of day 1, the last round, day 1, and I had to play against Mystic Mind Burn. My opponent didn't know that his Cauldron of the Old Man, or Wise Man, whatever, activates to put counters on it, and then it activates to remove the counters. So I put double Masquerade on board turn 1, and he had Cauldron with 4 sets, so every standby phase, it was mandatory for him to activate it, so he would take 1200, and then he would gain life, and he would take 1200, and he wasn't gaining more life than he was taking, so I ended up winning a game 1 because of that, and then I ended up just beating him for the match. Then I played the Corderus, the Proskinian. I made this 4 times this weekend with Super Poly. Every time this card came out, I won. Dragon Pastelia, and Titanclad. I didn't play Glory Dragon this weekend. That's the card I dropped for the Verte. Glory Dragon did not come up, even though it does search the Tri-Brigade hand trap. And then we'll just move on to the side deck. Triple Token Collector stayed in there. I played 1 Sword Soul this weekend, and I did draw Token Collector for them. Probably the only reason why I won. So this card is never coming out of my side deck as long as Sword Soul is full power. 1 Necrobanshee, and I did not forget my Zombie World this weekend, so I had 2. I had to use this against a Dinosaur matchup. I didn't realize that it was actually really good against Dinosaur because Miscellaneousaurus banishes dinosaurs from the graveyard. If a Zombie World's face up, they can't banish anything, so Miscellaneousaurus never resolves, so that helped. I hate losing to Dinosaurs, so it's like my kryptonite, honestly. Triple Twin Twister, double Cosmic Cyclone, and Red Reboot to handle back rows. I put these cards in quite a bit, and Twin Twister won me my round 11 to let me get in the top 32 against Virtual World. And I actually did not reboot anybody this weekend, but it's always going to be there. And for the last trap card, Dimensional Barrier, I did not forget that this weekend. I had to play, I resolved this card 1 time, and I saw it twice. I saw it in my game 2, top 32. I was playing against Prank Kids, and I always side 1 in so I can be a cross-out target. And so I opened it, which means it can no longer be a cross-out target, so I actually pitched it for branded opening, so that, wasn't a big deal. But the other match that I opened this was game 3 against Hoban, where I had Super Poly and cross-out as well, and it just absolutely... It was just enough to win the match. So that was the only 2 times I saw the card this whole weekend, and I only resolved it 1 time this weekend. But definitely a blowout card. I put it in for multiple matchups. I just never saw it before that. But I would not change this card out of my side deck for this format. So that's the list. 45, 15, 15. Guadalajara was awesome as far as the the location goes. The venue was a little bit small, but I also found out they had an upstairs, so it was kind of weird to do that. But the space was fine. The table numbers were the only things that I had a problem with. It would just loop from like table 250, and then the tables that were in front of it were like table 40, and then the tables behind it were like 500, and it was like it just wasn't making any sense. But other than that, I have no real complaints. I liked my list, and I also didn't like it. I just felt like this list is probably not as good as Andre's, his winning list for this weekend. So definitely give that a check. I think he'll be releasing his list today. Other than that, I've got nothing else to say. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you at Hartford.